June 17th meeting of the City Commission to order. We want to welcome you all to our chamber, well, rather the chambers for the capital city of the state of Florida, which happens to be an all-America city 2015. So welcome. I was hoping we would have more of the delegates in the room because I would ask them to stand, but I'll wait until after the pledge and see if a few more join, and we'll acknowledge them. But with that being said, I would welcome each of you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and for those who are willing, remain standing for the invocation. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, we give thanks for this community, its committed leaders, and the opportunity to serve our citizens. We thank you for the ability to celebrate the city of Tallahassee as a 2015 All-America City, and as well to recognize excellence by our employees as honorees in the statewide Sterling competition. These achievements are not as significant for the individuals receiving them as they are for the recognition of substance of service to our community. Bless our community that we continue to grow and nurture individuals that will take pride in their work as public servants and continue to be standard bearers in all aspects of our operations. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Madam City Manager, are there any agenda modifications?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. We have a couple of modifications. Item number 5.03 has been deleted. This was a presentation of proclamation recognizing Immigrant Heritage Month, and that item will likely come back at the next meeting. Item 14.02, policy discussion. Chapter 3, related to alcoholic beverages, Assistant City Attorney Linda Hudson has asked that this item be deleted, and it will probably also be back on the June 24th meeting.
Yes.
Okay. And those are the only two mods that I have.
It's 14.03. What was that, 14.02?
14.02.
02.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Commissioner Miller? I believe a few more have joined the room. As some of you all will know, we are just returning from Denver, Colorado, where we received the All-America City designation. And I would like any of the individuals who were delegates to that competition to please stand where you are. And I'd like the remaining ones of us sitting to give them a round of applause for the great work that they did. Awesome job. Thank you all very much for taking out your time and for representing the city and the citizens of Tallahassee so extremely well. And this has been, frankly, a really awesome week to be a Tallahassee citizen. In a moment, I will yield the mic to my colleague, Commissioner Miller, who will present the Energy Innovation Award that our city received, the first public utility in the state of Florida to receive this designation, the governor's prestigious Sterling Award. But before we do that, I would like you all to pause for just a few moments and turn your eyes to the television sets here in the room as we receive a video from your own utilities receiving this great honor from the great state of Florida. Cue the video.
Tallahassee Underground Utilities Department.
Assisting our customers is my favorite part of the job.
From sun up to sundown.
The city has you covered.
We are the vibrant and successful department you see today because of strategic plans implemented in 2008. The merger of 4 separate city-owned systems, water, wastewater, stormwater, and natural gas, brought together over 380 men and women who provide exceptional customer service on a daily basis. This merger was completed without the loss of a single employee position during the worst economic recession in recent history.
I'm very honored and at the same time very excited to accept this award on behalf of all the men and women in the underground utilities. They are by far the most gifted and innovative team that has the drive to consistently try new things and the ability to transcend all boundaries. This award affirms our commitment to provide best-in-class service to our customers and community.
We have been very fortunate
over the last few years to implement a number of technology solutions that have really changed the landscape of our organization.
Rewarding to sit there and be able to have an impact on people in their lives.
It's an honor to be the first public utility in the state of Florida to receive this prestigious award.
Congratulations to your own utilities. They go above and beyond for their customers, and it shows.
We appreciate this most coveted award. It demonstrates the technology and innovation we use here at the City of Tallahassee.
This is a great achievement, and it is a great validation for an organization that always strives to reach excellence in environmental sustainability.
We're elated to receive this recognition, which puts us on the roadmap as a role model in the utility industry.
The City of Tallahassee is so proud to be the recipient of this coveted award. Our Underground Utilities Department demonstrates every day that they are out to serve the people of this community.
I just want to let the customers know that we're going to go the extra mile for them no matter what.
And we take pride in the fact that, we keep the stuff where it needs to stay.
As a member of Underground Utilities,
I genuinely care about my customers and community. I promise to provide professional services
in a financially and environmentally sound manner.
I will impress my customers
by giving smarter, faster, and better service.
Tallahassee Underground Utilities. We put the us in customer service.
Folks, these are the people that keep your city running. All those things that we all just take for granted, they're going to work. These are the people who make sure that they do every single day of our lives. So, huge shout out, very, very proud. And this is the first public utility to receive the Governor Sterling Award in the state of Florida. So I think that's worth mentioning too. We're honored today to have state officials from the Florida Sterling Council join us, and I'd like to ask them to join us up at the podium with John Piano Jr., President of the Florida Sterling Council, and Dion Geiger, Executive Director of the Florida Sterling Council. Please join us up here. And also Assistant City Manager Rick Fernandez and Underground Utilities General Manager Mike Tadros. There he is, right there. So if anything's not working, these are the people you call right here. But it does work. All right, Mr. Piano, I'd like to turn this over to you and Ms. Geiger.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here today and to be part of this presentation to recognize Underground Utilities for being named the recipient of the 2015 Florida Governor Sterling Award for Performance Excellence. You may know this is my third time here as part of the Sterling process. Underground Utility won the team showcase as part of our annual conference about 2 years ago. They took the Sterling Challenge, which was an assessment tool to see where they were in preparation for the Governor Sterling Award. That was last year. And this year they are a Governor Sterling Award role model. Now, you might say, well, so what? Well, in Florida alone, they joined people like Shands Healthcare, Ritz-Carlton, Sarasota and Amelia Island, Motorola, IBM, City of Coral Springs, and numerous other organizations of all types, including tax collectors, election supervisors, sheriffs, clerks of court, people who are really trying to do the best they can to manage and to encourage customer satisfaction in all their dealings, support the workforce, count on results, and measure all levels of performance in what they do. So you can be very proud of them. I might add that also thanks and congratulations for being an All-American City. And I noted the placard coming in on the outside. Y'all have received numerous awards for the state and outstanding things that you do in the state. You wonder perhaps it might be something in the water.
No, there's nothing in the water.
Commissioner Miller, Madam Manager, and Mr. Fernandez, I want to thank you for traveling to Atlanta and formally accepting this award, along with Mike Tadros and his team. It clearly shows this city, this body's commitment to excellence to the community. Dion?
Utilities to get here, it was a process. And as a city resident, I want to let you know, and a utility customer of the city, because we happen to live here as well, it is especially meaningful to me and my coworkers to see the city achieve this recognition. Our own utilities doesn't only focus on providing best-in-class services, but has a passion to enhance the quality of life for all of us. While our independent board of examiners came here and visited the city and did an assessment, they verified the underground utilities' intense focus on the protection of public health, safety, and the environment, and the community as As residents, we really do appreciate firsthand seeing the evidence of the hard work and the things that the underground utilities does to make this an exceptional community. A few examples of the quality of life and energy savings initiatives are free energy audits, so we can save money. And I know I've personally done that at my house. I hope you all have as well. They get double rebates, and they also have an economic engine. That's an economic engine that's part of this community because they're helping you save money, but they're also investing through other energy savings means that you're able to do. They have a REACH program, a world-class initiative geared towards low-income residents, and an instant alert just to add a few touches to the things they do to make sure the customers have excellent service, and we all truly appreciate that. And don't forget the stormwater retention facility that transformed the heart of Tallahassee, the beautiful Cascades Park, and its utility fountain. They have done so much, again, to make this city just a wonderful place to live. The story doesn't end here. Our own utilities community involvement is second to none. Their community outreach programs, such as in the South City, where they gave free bikes and put a smile on hundreds of their residents. They sponsor the Winter Festival and an active participant in local fundraising efforts to benefit United Way, the Cancer Society, Christmas Connection, just to name a few. I would also like to say environmental stewardship is one of their key core competencies, as well as leading edge technology. They are two of the things that obviously the team noted that they do very, very well. They're very committed to the environment, and they're very committed to using technology to drive improvement. And then they are, through those two means, are able to incorporate best practices in their designs of their work processes to ensure that we get the best of the best here in the city. And they also have what the team noted was a very well-trained staff to do their job. I mean, it's important that the staff is efficient and well-trained in order to do the best they can in serving the citizens. None of these efforts, however, merit the recognition without the results. They have significant positive results. They were noted by the team of examiners, and they demonstrate sustained positive performance levels and trends for many of their key processes in areas important to the vitality of the city and the Underground Utilities Department. While we're here recognizing underground utilities for their accomplishment, the true winners of this award are really the customers and the community they serve. As we've already mentioned, it's all about the community we live in, and they do an exceptional job of serving that community. And that credo you heard at the end of that video, those employees really, when we talked to the employees, they really understood what that meant in terms of service to their community. And that is setting a standard for excellence. And by the way, they modeled that after the Ritz-Carlton, because it is about serving the community, just like you serve, ladies and gentlemen, every day in everything that you do. In closing, we'd like to extend an invitation to the commissioners and the administration to participate next year at the Executive Roundtable. We had an incredible event this year with Mark Wilson keynoting it and really sharing what's going on in Florida and how to drive performance excellence. And I would invite the city and all the other executive team to come down and join us for that day next year. It's going to be in June at the JW Marriott again, and we'll be also recognizing the city again as a role model, because they'll be part of that program next year, really showcasing excellence in what they do. Thank you so much, and again, congratulations to a wonderful city and to a utilities department that really does make a difference.
Thank you both. And now I'm going to read the proclamation. In the detail of the proclamation, and be patient because it's full of a lot of tidbits of what has actually occurred that has got us to the point of the Sterling Award. Whereas the Underground Utilities Department was created in 2008 to provide water, wastewater, gas, and stormwater services to our community. And whereas the mission of the Underground Utilities was and still is simple, strive to enrich what is essential to quality of life and do it better than anyone else, while guided by the vision of setting the standard for excellence. Whereas the Underground Utilities staff set their sights on excellence from the very beginning, using the Sterling Management Framework coupled with the ISO 14001 Environmental Management System to empower employees to embrace innovation to drive performance improvement. And whereas forward-leaning technological solutions that provide best-in-class approaches driven by customers' desires for seamless interaction with the utilities has been another primary focus to provide faster, better, and smarter services for our customers and meet all the regulatory compliance standards. And whereas the city's underground utilities is the recipient of the Florida Sterling Council 2015 Governor's Sterling Award, Florida's highest honor for organizational performance and management excellence. Whereas the underground utilities performance and processes were scored against 7 categories of the Sterling criteria: leadership, strategic planning, customer focus, measurement, analysis, and knowledge management, workforce focus, process management, and results. And whereas the Underground Utilities team underwent a rigorous 5-day site review as Sterling examiners interviewed over 120 employees at all levels of the organization and reviewed over 85 additional documents and results to verify and clarify findings before issuing a final report. And whereas for 23 years, the Governor's Sterling Award has been presented to recognize Florida organizations and businesses that have successfully achieved performance excellence within their management and operations, and has acknowledged over 70 organizations as Governor's Sterling Award recipients. And whereas the Florida Governor's Sterling Award recipients are considered role models by which other private and public organizations throughout the state of Florida can evaluate themselves. And now, therefore, I, Nancy Miller, on behalf of my mayor and my commission and the management, do hereby commend Underground Utilities for being the first public utility in the state of Florida to receive this esteemed award for organizational excellence, and recognize the underground utility staff for their dedication and commitment to excellence. And with that, I would like to invite Mr. Mike Tadros to the podium to make a few remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner. And thanks for joining us at the conference there to accept the awards. And I will be brief, but it is really a great honor to accept this award and be named the first public utility to receive this Sterling and be called the role model organization. But on behalf of all the men and women who work in the underground utility, I can attest they are smart, they are dedicated. Simply, they are the best, and they earn to be named the best in the state of Florida. Please allow me just a moment to say special thanks to the individuals who played an intricate part in getting us there. But first, I would like to recognize my wife, Teresa. She's here 38 years. She's
I just got you 38 more.
Joe Cheatham, who inspired us to go for the big prize when he joined the city in 2007. He adopted the model for the National Environmental System and we were the first organization in the state of Florida to receive recognition of the ISO 14001. And that was mirrored after that to the Sterling Award. So it made our journey much easier. To Blas Gomez, who volunteered as a team leader for completing our applications, the 50-page application, and I must say, he stayed with it right through the end. Thanks, Blas. Michelle Hill, who handled all the logistics for this application and the site visits, serve as a single point of contact. She makes sure all our documents or our responses get submitted on time and schedule over 150 interviews within 5 days with all underground utilities that they have been in the list for interview. Thank you, Michelle. And I want to thank also our team showcase, our field guys that they present last week at the conference, and they share their great story with the world there. Thank them very much for their dedication and willingness to go down there and get to the stage and present to the conference. Also, I want to recognize Sandra Manning and Lauren Pratt. They were very instrumental to produce that great video that we've seen, and they've been very supportive for some of the logistics that we can there. Also, I want to thank all the utility managers for their continuous support and encouragement. We work as one team. It's well known that we operate as a utility without borders. We leverage our strengths and meet our challenges together. And those challenges are quite a few. Extra special thanks to the Underground Utilities creator, Rick Fernandez. Rick has a passion for our customers and keeps us all focused on providing smarter, better, and faster service. In closing, thanks to our mayor, commissioners, city manager, and the executive team for creating an environment where underground utility would take root, thrive, and blossom, and all while setting the standard for excellence. Thank you so much.
What is on that? That's for Mr. Tebow. He's speaking to his 5 copies. I didn't want to know. Okay, all right.
Support.
Thank you very much. I was just being told that of the 40 other states that do an award and an acknowledgement of this nature, that they've never had a public underground utility come even close to winning and being recognized. So another great commendation for the underground utility staff and the great work that they do for this community. Commissioner Richardson. Commissioner Richardson, are you next?
Going up.
No.
I wasn't told I was.
Vince.
Come on.
Thank you.
All you got to do is read it. Yeah. Got it.
I'm going to invite to come forward for this next presentation Harriet Paul, Luis Rojas, Brian Seeley, Michelle Shaw-Rinder, and Sugren Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is indeed my honor to present this resolution honoring National Caribbean American Heritage Month, and I want to welcome former Representative Garcia here. Rojas, I'm sorry, Rojas, I apologize for that. He preceded me in the legislature, but we've worked together on a number of occasions. And with that blunder having been made, whereas during the month of June, we celebrate the great contributions of Caribbean Americans to the fabric of our nation and pay tribute to the bonds of friendship that unite the United States and the Caribbean nations. And whereas many Caribbean Americans have influenced our nation's history, including Alexander Hamilton, a founding father and the first Secretary of the Treasury, and Eric Holder, the first African American to hold the position of the United States Attorney General. And whereas generations of Caribbean immigrants and their descendants have made Florida their home and have preserved their rich heritage that have now become a part of our state's history. And whereas Caribbean Americans have contributed to the development of our city through their careers in education, politics, real estate, law, and government. And whereas the Caribbean American Heritage Council of Tallahassee honors the contributions of local leaders such as Harriet Paul, Louis Rojas, Brian Seeley, Michelle Shaw-Render, and Surgrim Singh for their service to the Tallahassee community and the Caribbean. Now, therefore, our mayor, Andrew Gillum, by the authority vested in him as mayor of the city of Tallahassee, officially proclaims June 2015 as National Caribbean American Heritage Month in the city of Tallahassee and ask our citizens to participate in activities related to National Caribbean American Heritage Month.
Well, I never let an opportunity to speak go by. First of all, I came to Tallahassee in 1988 when I first got elected to the legislature, and I fell in love with the area, and I cannot say enough good things about your city, Mr. Mayor, and commissioners and city manager, and the history of Tallahassee, the special place, not only geographically, weather-wise, but the people and how great the people are. All my family lives here. I have 4 adult children. They've all moved to Tallahassee. My mother-in-law is here. My mother just bought a house. 3 of my grandchildren have been born in Tallahassee. Tallahassee is home. And all of us that follow politics, we've seen several people announce for president. And actually yesterday one of them said the American dream was dead, which I think was a horrible statement because the American dream is not dead, it's alive. And one of the great things about Tallahassee, all the great things there is that I'm certain that 20 years from now, we will be a better city than we are today. We will be a city that's more vibrant, we'll be a city that's more progressive. We live in an exciting place, and I'm glad that my children have chosen this to be their home and that they're gonna raise their families here. But now, the last thing, and I'll conclude because I really shouldn't give this long of a speech. This is about the Caribbean. And the one thing that I think our city is lacking is that we haven't really focused on the Caribbean as a community. Because no matter what side of the Cuba issue you're on, and I can be on the side that says we shouldn't have relations, like on one side of the family, the Castro brothers murdered one of my family members because he was on the other side of the government. On the other side of my family, my grandfather worked 40 years and built a business and it was confiscated. So I understand the deep hurt. My parents' youth was stolen. I came to this country when I was 6. I didn't learn English till I was 7. But having said all that, Cuba will be free. Cuba will open up, and the Caribbean is going to become extremely important in the next 20 years. And one of the great things about Tallahassee is we're the capital of Florida. And the capital city of Florida should have a strategy to make sure that we're part of the mix when the capital of Cuba starts trading with Florida. So I challenge those of you that are in government to look at the Caribbean, and not just Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, all of the Caribbean, because in the next 20 years it's going to be extremely important, and Tallahassee can play a part of that. Thank you for this honor.
I'd love to take a picture with you as long as you're not declaring for mayor. That was quite a speech. We've got one more presentation, and this will be made, I believe, toward the Commission and the community, and that is a presentation of the new Public Servant Initiative class of 2015. And I'd like to invite Desiree Thomas to this podium from Equity and Workforce Development. Ms. Thomas. Oh, there you are.
Good afternoon, Madam Manager, Mayor, Commissioners, and appointed officials. On behalf of my manager, Angela Hendrith, I'm pleased to introduce to you a very special group of city employees. Equity and Workforce Development started the new Public Servant Initiative program, better known as NPSI, approximately 9 years ago, and we're currently serving the 6th class. NPSI is a career development program that is a key part of the city's succession planning efforts to maintain institutional knowledge while managing the talents of our diverse workforce. Participants have the opportunity to take part in networking events, formal training, and key assignments that expose them to challenging projects. This year, we are serving 21 participants from 8 departments who have been assigned a mentor from the city's leadership team. And we are also pleased to have 3 individuals that are serving in the mayor's office as fellows who are also a part of this great program. NPSI will culminate in September with a graduation ceremony, followed by an intimate dinner with the city manager in October. This is a special opportunity for them to speak personally with the manager and ask questions, discuss work-life balance, and much more. Again, we are so proud to present the 2015 class of new public servant participants. And at this time, I would ask that they all stand and be recognized.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you to the class participants. You all are part of the leadership pipeline for city governance and government leadership, and so we thank you for committing this amount of time to this effort. Commissioners, we're now at the point of citizen input. We have dedicated 30 minutes to receive public comment for items that are not on the agenda. Is this portion of the meeting for items
on the agenda?
That I'm so sorry, not on the agenda. These are for items that are on the agenda. Later in the meeting, we will accept comments for items that are unagended. So if you've got a comment to make that is with regard to an agenda item, this is now your time to speak. Matt, would you mind calling the first person?
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. By my count, we have 27 speakers on agenda items. 17 of those are in relation to the introduction of the Vehicle for Hire Ordinance. Those 17 have indicated they're in support. That leaves us with 14 other speakers. The first one that I'll call up is... Just
so I can clarify, the 17 that you referenced do not wish to speak but want to be put in the record as being in support.
That's correct, and there are 10 other people who wish to speak on that item.
Got it. Thank you.
The first speaker will be Mr. Steve Urs. If you'll come to the podium to the audience left and state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. There is a light that's on the front of the podium. It will illuminate green when your time begins and turn amber when 30 seconds remain and turn red when your time is expired.
Thank you. Steve Urs, 1118 Waverly Road, Tallahassee. I rise in support, Commissioner, Mayor, Commissioners, and City Manager. I rise in support of the request for proposals for solar. Definitely excited about the potential for a 10 megawatt solar array that'll serve about 1,700 homes, and excited about the bids that came in. And I think that both environmentalists and fiscal conservatives can be excited about those bids because of the cost that they came in about 5.4 cents per kilowatt hour when we're paying 4 cents for natural gas, which is volatile. So this opportunity will serve a long-standing goal of the City Commission, which has been to increase fuel diversity, but at the same time providing a clean energy source that will reduce carbon emissions and fossil fuel use. So I want to tie this back historically. About 10 years ago, when Commissioner Gillum was on the dais and the 20-year electric plan was being developed and coal was being proposed. And at the time, the City Commission wisely asked a group of citizens that became the Big Bend Climate Action Team to work with city staff, Gary Brinkworth and the electric system planning staff, to come up with a plan for enhanced clean energy. And needless to say that the energy efficiency, the Energy Innovation Award shows how successful that portion was developed, because we were concerned about cost-effective solutions rather than coal, and energy efficiency was certainly number one. Distributed generation, solar hot water, and then at the very end was solar photovoltaic. And we knew at that time it wasn't cost-effective, but it is now. And we knew that you wanted to wait until technology's improved, and you have. So now is definitely the time to embrace this opportunity. I also want to mention, as an environmentalist and tree hugger, the concern for many about the trees that are going to be likely cut down. Like at the site, the Arva Hopkins site, the 70 acres that the city purchased at a good price. But I do know that city staff is addressing those concerns. I mean, not only with the opportunity of taking money and putting it in the tree bank, but another opportunity is to measure the carbon sink of those trees. And then when you plant new trees to counter that, that you make sure that that carbon sink is balanced.
Excuse
so that we
me,
don't
your
have
time has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
The next speaker will be Stu Parsons, to be followed by Scott Carswell. If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Stu Parsons. I live at 1201 Walton Drive. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I currently serve as the chair of Sustainable Tallahassee's Renewable Energy Advocacy Committee. We've been having conversations with your utility staff off and on for at least 2 years. And when we found out a few months ago that you were seriously pursuing a 10-megawatt solar electric production facility, we were absolutely thrilled. This is just an amazing accomplishment for the city of Tallahassee. It again adds to your reputation as a progressive community. It's recognized through the All-American City Award. I grew up here in Tallahassee in the 50s and returned here in the mid-60s to practice law. And progressive is the last word you would have ever chosen to describe the city of Tallahassee during that era. So this is just wonderful news. I want to thank Mr. Fernandez, Mr. McGarrah, and Mr. Goh. They have reached out to us, invited us to meet with them so that they could keep us abreast of the plans that were being developed. We've worked closely with them. We hope to continue to do that. We support this project 100%, and we'll do whatever's necessary to see that it happens. We would hope that there could either be a community solar component in this project, and we've talked about that some, or possibly at a future date a freestanding community solar facility, because we think that involves the whole community and an outlet for people that can't otherwise have solar. In any project of this magnitude, there are pros and cons. And one of the cons on this one is the fact that this site, 70 acres, does have a lot of trees that are going to have to be removed. It's my personal view that this is still a very good trade-off. The pros of this project far outweigh the cons of the tree loss. We would much prefer that it was 70 acres of pasture land, but it's not. But there are lots of other reasons to locate this facility there adjacent to the power plant. So we totally support what you're doing, and we're here to help any way we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The next speaker will be Scott Carswell, to be followed by Lee Daniel.
He was able to arrive, so he'll speak for the county if there's any questions on it.
Thank you. Lee Daniel, 3745 Suffolk Drive. I'm also here acting as the director of the Division of Tourism Development for Leon County. I hope, Commissioners, good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. I hope I dressed appropriately for today's celebration.
Yes, you did.
It's a great day. Congratulations to all. regarding the item in the Amphitheater interlocal agreement item that you'll be discussing later, there are two items in there that differ from what was presented as part of the Stage Committee report to the Board of County Commissioners. The first is the change in permissible starting time for events at the amphitheater, and the county has absolutely no concern and is perfectly satisfied with that change. However, there is another change that's the requiring the full curtain setup for all performances and sound checks. We feel that that needs further vetting, and we would respectfully request that maybe you defer action on this item for this evening and bring it forward as part of your upcoming intergovernmental agency meeting, on which the overall sound issues at the park and the amphitheater are to be discussed. I know that Scott Carswell is in attendance and has issued a communication stating his position on this matter. So I just wanted to ask your consideration of maybe possibly deferring that to the IA meeting coming.
Thank you very much.
Answer any questions. Thank you, sir.
The next speaker will be Harry Sipple, to be followed by Matthew Wilson. And if you would, state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Harry B. Sipple IV, 2801 Chancellorsville Drive. I'm a little confused. This is not about solar. We're moving on to another topic. Is that?
You had signed up for the introduction of the Vehicle for Hire ordinance?
Yes. Okay. I've been an independent contractor working with Uber since late August of 2014. Before that, years and years ago, I was an independent contractor leasing from Yellow Cab, so I have a unique perspective on this. I recently was out of town. I use Uber also as a rider. It's a little bit different in that there's an app. You don't have to have cash. You don't pay. You don't make change. I find that's a huge security and safety issue, and that's why I do it. That little guy over there, his name's Brick, and I want to make sure I'm home every night, safe and sound, because when you have cash, believe it or not, you're a target. So that's why I'm pro-Uber. I'm a pro-Uber person because I use it and I do it. I've done it 2,600 rides now. I don't feel that no regulation is what's needed. It's different regulations. It's a different platform. It's a new technology. It's all over this state. It's all over this country, and it's all over the world. So wherever you go, you can do it. And you know what the rating of the driver is. The driver knows what the rating of the rider is. I find it's just it's technology and it's progressive. And we've been talking a lot today about technology and innovation and progressive things. And I feel there's a way for both Yellow Cab and the other city taxi, Lyft, Uber, even Google is talking about running their own ride-sharing service, I've heard. There's a way to coexist, and there's a sensible way to do it. I made a mention to my friend behind me here, Sean, that there's a way to do this, and I know this committee will do what's fair and what's best for the people. I noticed one time, and I go to the airport a lot, I drop off there, I've noticed lines of Yellow Cab, city taxi, whatnot, 10, 12, 14 deep. But I'll get a request from downtown Tallahassee near City Hall to go to the airport. So I asked myself, why isn't anyone just getting out of baggage claim and getting in a taxi? Well, it's because they don't want to. The people want choices. If they wanted to do that, they would do that. They would pay cash or swipe their credit card. They feel that it's much better to just push a button, wait 5, 10 minutes, get in the Uber, and go. So I think that example will tell everybody what we're all about. That's just one of the best anecdotes I can think of off the cuff. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker will be Matthew Wilson, to be followed by Franz Hofbauer.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Wilson, 5760 Braveheart Way, Tallahassee, Florida. I'm here today to speak in opposition of the Ordinance for Vehicles for Hire. This is my first time actually speaking, getting public comment in any forum. But I'm here today because it's an important issue that sends a powerful signal not only to other cities struggling with the same issue, but it sends a signal to entrepreneurs and startups across the country. I understand that the consternation among taxi companies that allege the startups like Uber are offering similar services without being under the same regulations. I agree with the past speaker that some regulations are necessary, but not the existing ones. Instead of developing new and innovative rules for these companies, this ordinance burdens these startups and sends a signal to others in Tallahassee that Tallahassee does not want them or their businesses. Many of you celebrated Domi Station's one-year anniversary. As a startup incubator in Tallahassee, it seeks to encourage entrepreneurs and innovators. And yet today, you're considering an ordinance that tells those entrepreneurs, once you have a successful startup, the city will not be there to support you, but will restrict you and regulate you into existing rules and regulations. The city should be leading the way to support new startups and encouraging innovation in our community with innovative rules and innovative regulations. I would ask that you do not introduce this ordinance and provide direction to staff to develop these innovative rules and flexibility for companies like Uber and Lyft.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker will be Franz Hoffbauer, be followed by Pat Tucktill, maybe?
Hello, my name is Franz Hoffbauer. Address is 1923 Sabre Drive, Tallahassee. I rise in support of the bill, even though this is not by any means the ordinance I'd like to see going forward. In the months of talking with city officials and other members of the transportation community, I feel that it's more important that we have something on the books that we can at least begin an enforcement procedure from. Apparently this back and forth, we're never going to get everything we want. Believe me, in the ordinance rewrite, this is not what we were looking for. We feel that the city has done quite a bit to reduce the standards to allow Uber to play in the field with us, which we're absolutely fine with the competition. But we feel that something needs to be put forward that we can then work from as a platform. I like the fact that it is written into the bill that there will be a review period as this goes forward for changes that we need to put forward. But at this point with the police department, they have no idea what to enforce, what not to enforce, what's legal, what's not legal. I believe it's a starting point to get us on a framework that we can at least bring in, like I said, Uber, Lyft, Google, whoever wants to play in the same transportation industry as we're in now, but make it something that everybody knows what the rules are and get a platform. Some of the most important things, of course, is having the city know who's operating. Right now, the city has no idea who drives an Uber unless you can record the people that come up here and speak and tell you they're driving Ubers. That's about the only time you're going to know what cars they're driving. Have some kind of markings on them so that people who take Uber cars know they're getting in the right car, not just anybody with a vehicle who just says, I'm an Uber driver. We've kind of lost the fear of strangers when it comes to taking cars after, especially our bar scene at night, which is a big pickup area for Uber drivers, as well as our own drivers. Is students used to have a natural fear if someone asked you, do you want to ride? It was kind of a, you're kind of creepy, get away from me kind of thing. Now it's become oh yeah, sure. And I think that's a real loophole that needs to be closed, and having some kind of ordinance on the books will help us get us in that direction, something we can agree on and something we can enforce. So for the most part, even though I'm not terribly happy with the ordinance the way it is, I think it's important that we get something started, and I am in support of passing something as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Pat Tucktill.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, City Manager, and Commissioners. I am Pat Tucktill. I live at 1005 East 7th Avenue, Tallahassee, Florida. I didn't know I was going to be here until a few hours ago. I did know there would be a hearing come up. I thought it was next week. So I have nothing written down, but I'm here to speak about enforcement and regulation. I am representing myself and the Peyton Tucktill Foundation and crime victims in Tallahassee and across America. I lost my young daughter, Peyton Tucktill, to murder right after she graduated from college. And I left my career as an HR director and have devoted my life to public safety and public safety issues. Last year in 2014, I received the Ronald Reagan Public Policy Award by Attorney General Eric Holder in D.C. And so with that said, I am in favor of enforcement, of regulation. Last October, I was diagnosed, I was fortunate, I was diagnosed with 2 brain aneurysms, which required brain surgery. And I was unable to drive until 2 weeks ago. I relied on Yellow Cab because I knew they did drug screening and that they had criminal background checks by law enforcement. To me, those are very important issues. If I'm getting in a cab, I was quite disabled at the time, visually, mentally, and physically. That if I put one of my family members, one of my daughters, or other family members, I want to know I'm putting them into a vehicle with a driver that has been drug screened, has passed a criminal background check. I'm not against Uber, but I'm for enforcement and regulation. I'm for choice, but I think it has to be done so we consider public safety and the public safety risk in any decisions that are made here. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker will be Horace Copeland, to be followed by John Camillo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. Horace Copeland, I live at 2911 Coldstream, Waverly Hills. I've been driving the cab for 13 years. I feel like the present ordinance that we have on the books now needs to be enforced by lowering the standards. I think that would do the industry wrong, and we provide transportation for people who do not have credit cards or have wheelchairs and so forth, which Uber does not. Mr. Sipple was talking about picking up at the airport. Every cab at the city airport that works off there has to have a permit that was paid to the airport every year. Uber goes out, Uber goes out there, picks up without any permits. Their drivers are doing flags and stands and picking up and doing personals, which is not under the Uber app. So we just feel like everything needs to be put on a level playing field, and the standards doesn't need to be lowered to support Uber. If they're going to play in this field, they need to come up to the standards now that's already in the ordinance that the city should be enforcing. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for yours.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. John Camillo, 3941 West Pensacola. Good citizens follow rules, and sometimes good citizens look you in the eye and say, I'll do it even if there isn't a rule. So I want to talk about being green, because when I met who was then Commissioner Gillum the first time, he looked me in the eye and he said, what are you going to do to go green here in Tallahassee? And I committed to him at the time that we would replace our existing fleet of Crown Vics with hybrid vehicles. I just authorized the purchase of 4 more hybrid vehicles to replace them. I expect that within a couple years we will be about 80% hybrids, and that will save about 150,000 gallons of fuel a year in usage here in Tallahassee. It's time that this commission do something to enforce whatever rules it decides to pass. A basic tenet of the free market is that people in private enterprise get to set their prices. At this point in time, you have dictated to us what we charge. So today, if you take a cab from here to the airport, it'll cost you $20. On game day, it'll cost you $20. On New Year's Eve, it'll cost you $20. I think that one of the things that the staff has done, which is recognized that because you're dictating price, it has, and for the cab industry, it has set a floor on the price that Uber can charge, but Uber at the same time can go up 2.5 times under the current ordinance. We support that. You have also mandated insurance and compliance with Florida law. I don't think you have any choice, but that's good policy. The one thing that we do take exception to is, for the first time, the city has abdicated its responsibility to review and to otherwise vet potential for hire drivers to the for hire industry. We believe that ultimately the city should take an active role in deciding who will or won't pick up passengers who don't know the driver. They're strangers. It's legal hitchhiking, for lack of a better term, when you get into a for hire vehicle. And under the current ordinance as proposed, the staff has put out there, and I think this is something that Uber pushes in every city that I'm aware of, including Broward County, that it vet and authorize its own drivers. I think that's an abdication of an essential public safety issue to private industry that is best handled by city staff. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that has happened is that there is now mandatory drug testing for hire drivers, which is no longer going to be mandatory in the current proposed ordinance. So what we would ask is that the commission look at the vetting process and determine that it won't abdicate to private industry the responsibility that it has to promote public safety and vet the drivers that in fact are going to be driving your residents and your visitors. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker will be Sean Fair, to be followed by Desiree Spear.
Hi, my name is Sean Fair, 1988 Portland Drive. I'm currently an independent contractor with Yellow Cab. I have been doing this for about 6.5 years. I take care of a disabled sister, pay my taxes. Yellow Cab gives me that opportunity. But I'm concerned because, again, the safety of the drivers is always paramount. If our drivers are not safe, we have no enforcement in the city. We can't get drug testing. How are we safe? Somebody out there without insurance that's not vetted by the state of Florida through FIGA. Uber doesn't have that. Yellow Cab does. City Taxi does. All the transportation industries here in Tallahassee are required by law to have insurance. Uber drivers don't have that. They get into an accident, we all lose. Every single person here. And by you advocating their use of an Uber app or Lyft or any of the other companies without making sure that they are 100% legal, you put all of the other citizens, including yourselves, at risk, financial and personal. They talk about being a rideshare company. A typical rideshare is picking up from point A to point B, their common destinations, people wanting to go to work or to home. And it's not a for-hire industry. Rideshare companies don't exist. They are just groups of people. Now, the state of Florida has identified a couple instances, like on the Turnpike, where they will allow people to get compensated for going from point A to point B only. It's kind of like a shuttle. Taxis are for hire. We need to be vetted. We need to be drug tested. We need to have our federal or 50-state background checks done to guarantee their safety. We're out there every day putting our life on the line. It's a dangerous job. But you get people that don't have insurance. You get people that aren't vetted. They tell everybody it's okay to get in your cab. They're not taxis. They're out there picking up people by the dozens, overloading their vehicles. I understand cabs do that. But, again, where's the enforcement? Where's the safety for the people and the drivers? We need this. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next speaker's Desiree Spear, to be followed by Chris Hare.
My name is Desiree Spear. I live at 275 John Knox Road, Tallahassee. I'm a citizen, first and foremost, of Tallahassee. I'm also a mother. My children right over there. Their safety every day is my priority. If a yellow cab driver or a city taxi driver accidentally runs over one of my children, I know that I will be compensated for either their medical bills or my loss. An Uber driver with regular private insurance, I will fight with and maybe possibly get at most $660, maybe $6,000. Is that enough for my child's life? If something happens to me and I have to take a cab with my two small children who are 12 and 10, Can I trust who I'm getting into a car with? With Yellow Cab or City Taxi, they have a permit. I can see who I'm talking to. If I have a problem, I can go to that business and say, hey, I have a problem with one of your drivers, and they will handle it. I have no way of getting in contact with an Uber company from California and literally standing there and speaking face-to-face with them. I'm not talking just for myself. I'm talking as a female who takes cabs, as a parent with children, in a city where we have college students that get drunk and get into anybody's car. Rape, murder, and my absolute favorite, robbery. I don't know who Uber is. I can't pull up their background and go, this guy held somebody at knife point. This person has a drug conviction. I can't. Yellow Cab does that for me. City Taxi does that for me because that is the state's rules. That is the city's rules. I say, let our city be beautiful. Keep the standards high. You don't just let anybody come in and say, well, I don't want to do that because we're a new company. You make everybody else in this room abide by the rules that were set. Why not them? Why do the rules get to be changed just because they don't like it? Anybody else come here from a different state and try to set up a new company, there are rules and regulations. You don't go through and change them every time. I want to see the standards higher. I want them all to be drug tested. I want them all to have to prove that they're not going to kidnap me and my kids because I needed them to take me to the hospital. That's what I'm asking. I plead with you. Please make the standards higher. Make them abide by your rules. This is our city, not California's city. Thank you.
Next speaker is Chris Hare, to be followed by Justin Day.
City Commissioners, Mayor, my name is Chris Hare. I live at 275 John Knox Road. Just a few things. Back in March, I came up here before the commission and at the end of the meeting, Mr. Mayor, you spoke and said that the current ordinance, as it was to be enforced. And yet, it wasn't. They're still operating, and still other cab companies from other cities come in and are still operating. Nothing has been enforced. For some of us, we're a little aggravated about that they are still operating. As one of the other gentlemen said, you know, entrepreneurs, so we want more entrepreneurs in here. Well, I've thought about it. I'm going to open up a pizza place. I'm not going to go and get my health certificate for clean house or clean business. I'm not going to get any insurance. These are all rules that you have to have in order to open up a business. You're supposed to have all your laws followed by. But it's pretty much the same thing. Wouldn't Papa John's, Pizza Hut, Domino's get mad if I opened up a pizza place and didn't have all my certificates showing that I was a legal business? Yeah, they would get mad. Another thing is the app first flagging down customers. Okay, Uber states that they're only supposed to use the app. Their drivers are only supposed to pick up people that come on the app. Yet, every night, and I work every night, I see Uber drivers out in front of the bars, in front of other businesses, sitting there outside of their car, telling people they're Uber. Please come to us. We're Uber. We'll charge you less than what the cab companies do. Oh, I got a nicer vehicle than what the cab companies have. Like Mr. Camella said, we're going green. We are. We have a whole bunch of now Toyota Priuses that are out on the roads. But these vehicles, yes, they are, but they're not marked. None of the Uber driver vehicles are marked, stating that they are Uber. I've seen maybe 2 during the whole past year that have been marked with a U on the side of their vehicle. How are these people supposed to know that these are actually Uber drivers you're getting into? The other thing that we see throughout the night is Uber drivers don't follow the road laws. They park right in front of the bars with their flashers on. We're not allowed to do that. We get told to move. But they get to sit there because the cops think that they are just picking up a friend. Us, we're actually physically marked. Move your vehicle. You can't park here. Park over here. Park in a parking spot. It's the same for them. Other thing, I know for personal experience, I worked for another company where I was going around driving and taking pictures of foreclosures, bankruptcies. Out-of-state license plates should not be allowed to work in the state of Florida. They should have a Florida state license plate.
Excuse me, your time has expired.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Mr. Justin Day, to be followed by Valerie Connor.
Good afternoon, Mayor Gillum and commissioners, and I want to congratulate you all again on a designation of an All-American City. That's a great honor. So,
thank you.
My name is Justin Day, and I am one of Uber's local representatives here in Tallahassee, and I've been intimately involved in many of the conversations with city staff and city commissioners up to this point. And although we do appreciate the time and energy and effort put in by Mr. Shelley and his staff on this topic, Uber still has some concerns with the ordinance that is before you today. As we've said before, these concerns stem from the fact that this ordinance attempts to take a new, innovative model and conform it to an antiquated regulatory framework. We believe there is no need for the city to attempt to impose onerous and outdated regulatory requirements on TNCs. Uber is a technology company, plain and simple. They've built a smartphone application that has transformed the way people move around their cities by connecting riders and drivers. It's important to note that Uber does not own any of the vehicles, nor do they employ any of their drivers. Since their founding in 2009, Uber has committed themselves to bring on-demand transportation to communities of all sizes and at an affordable price. This is through their UberX product and platform. UberX offers an economic opportunity for everyday Americans. You've heard from some of our drivers. Some of those drivers are teachers, nurses, military veterans, and retirees who are trying to get part-time work on the UberX platform. Last August, Uber launched here in Tallahassee. The launch was in response to Uber's leadership fielding a plethora of requests from student leaders asking what they can do to bring Uber to their campus. As Uber has continued to see the Tallahassee market grow, what is apparent is that there's an overwhelming amount of support and demand for safe and reliable transportation in Tallahassee. As this ordinance is written today, as I said, Uber could not operate in Tallahassee. We want a level playing field, but we want it with the incumbent industry. But we believe lumping TNCs into a decades-old ordinance is not the way to go. Uber is not looking to gain an unfair advantage over any industry, and we would encourage using this time to review all ordinances for vehicle for hire and TNC-related ordinances in the city of Tallahassee. We very much look forward to working with you and the staff in making further amendments to this ordinance so that it is more consistent with the 20 states and 20 cities that have passed legislation allowing TNCs. I thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next speaker is Valerie Jean Connor, relative to the Cascades Park Amphitheater interlocal agreement.
Good evening. I'm here, to speak on item number 1404, approval to negotiate the changes in the interlocal agreement. I just want to say that I very much support the idea of keeping it mandatory that curtains be used for touring events, that be kept in this proposal. Should something happen at the IA meeting on Monday, perhaps that could be removed. It doesn't have to be done if it gets taken care of. I don't know what's going to happen at the IA meeting. We don't have an agenda yet. So I would very much encourage you to keep this in the proposal that will be presented because it's very important. I live at 534 Oakland Avenue, for the record, steps from Cascades Park. I think it's particularly important to keep this kind of measure in the proposal because the number of permissible events has been increased by 1/3, is being increased by 1/3. And that is in the agenda item. In other words, we will go from 10 events in a 15-month period or an 18-month period to 15 events in an 18-month period. So I think any protections that we could write in for the neighbors would be very much appreciated, and I urge you to keep this measure in. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Mr. Thomas Tebow, to be followed by Anthony Anastasia.
Thank you. My name is Tom Thiebaud. Most know me as Nature, though. 702 West Madison Street is my Tallahassee address, but Earth is my well-known address. I wanted to talk. I wanted to make a mention about that solar electrical proposal that you guys are doing. And later in this session, I want to present a proposal for a natural stream system that'll prove the detrimental, the effects, the direction that the electricity is affecting. But electricity is a universally connective energy. It goes through the bones, goes through the skin, goes through walls. It manipulates your thinking process and your feelings to be in the same direction that the energy that produces electricity is in. Now, the sun has harmonious life-promoting energies, but also a lot of the sun's energy is disharmonious. It's promoting the nature of the life system to grow in disharmonious ways, thorns, thistles, poisonous plants. The life system shows the disharmonious energy that is in the rays of the sun. Okay? That means it's promoting the person's thinking process. When they use that electricity, it's going to be promoting their thinking process and their feelings to be in a detrimental way to the life system. That's one of the major things that needs to be changed with society. With the way civilization is, the way mankind is going, they're not respecting the facts and the harmony of the life system being absolutely perfect. We got a perfect system here, and we're not working with it to the highest degree possible. That's crazy. The reason we're not is because the energy, the conditioning of our environment, and major conditioning of that environment is the rays of the sun and the electrical energies that we're using. When you take those rays of the sun and you put them to electrical energy, and you're using that energy in wherever we're at, it's going to be manipulating. I've got an experiment that would prove this. I'm going to detail that later with the proposal that I have for the front of City Hall, a natural stream system running along the sidewalk. But this experiment would give numbers of how the electrical ions manipulate, or electrons, manipulate their person's thinking process and feelings, no matter how far it is away from where the electricity is produced at. I'll talk with you more about that later.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And our last speaker. And if you would, state your name and address for the record.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Anthony Anastasia. I'm from 1600 Old Bainbridge Road. I want to talk to you about the city ordinance for ride shares, and I'm opposed to it. I'm a student at FSU and also a Uber partner. And Uber and ride shares companies are a product of economic liberalism. They improve the marketplace for not only the consumers, but the individuals driving for them. By denying improvements to the marketplace, you're giving in to protectionism, which acts like a cancer to economic growth and the lower and middle class. By voting against Uber, you are voting no to the safety of college students, no to economic opportunities for lower and middle class citizens of Tallahassee. And if this is the type of issue that will get college students involved in city and local government, they have a say. And if you take Uber away from them, they might take your jobs away from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, in addition, we've got 18 additional speaker slips who indicated they're in support of the Vehicle for Hire ordinance. So we will introduce their names into the official record of the meeting.
Great. Do you want to read those now, or you'll type them into the record?
we'll enter them into the official record.
Great. Thank you very much, and thank you for all of this evening's speakers who took the time to show up and let your opinions be known. We're now moving on to the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for consent. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Miller is an aye, so 5-0. Thank you, Commissioner Miller. There were no items pulled from consent for discussion. We're now on to target issue updates, and we'll begin with Michelle. Are we doing that now or later?
Now,
We'll do that now. While that's being queued up, Commissioner Miller on quality of life.
All right. Well, we had our quality of life meeting on May 20th, 2015. Had a couple of interesting topics that we discussed. The first one was presentation on the trap, neuter, and release program. And I think we talked about that either at our budget hearings or we've talked about that in public. The Meow or Never Foundation provided a presentation on their program. The way this program works is that animals, stray cats, are trapped, neutered, and then released back into the wild. Feral cats as a means of humanely controlling the cat population and reducing the number of animals which are euthanized. The foundation works with the city's animal control division in the conduct of this program, and I think we'll be bringing this back for discussion by the commission fairly soon. We had an update on the senior center expansion and the AARP age-friendly designation that Sheila Saylor at the senior center is working on. She provided an update on their efforts to prepare for a second senior center facility as one of the city's funding priorities when the sales tax extension funds become available in 2015. So they're beginning to plan for that already. We had a discussion of future target issue agenda priorities. Both Commissioner Ziffer and I listed the topics that we were interested in discussing, and if you're interested in those, I'd be glad to provide it, but otherwise we'll have minutes somewhere for you to read. What we'd like to talk about over the next year. And finally, we had a presentation on the proposed energy efficiency in municipal facilities policy and presentation, and a presentation on the green initiatives for 2014 final report. EPA provided an overview of the proposed energy efficiency in municipal facilities policy, which the committee approved and referred the item to the full commission for consideration. And then EPA also provided a discussion, an overview of the city's successes that are referenced in the Green Initiatives 2014 final report, and made a report on the Green Print Intermediate Implementation Plan. And Commissioner Ziffer, do you need to add anything to that?
No, good report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Next report is from Short Range Planning Committee, Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I feel like we could come up with a better name than Short Range.
You know, we call it as we see it.
It's like,
short-range plans.
it makes me feel somewhat inadequate.
Is this a height issue? Or?
I think so, or short rib or whatever. Okay, so the Short Range Planning Target Issue Committee held its inaugural first meeting on May 27th. And we dealt with several issues. The first one was Kilkerrain zoning issues. Inadvertently, Commissioners, as you know, prior to the comprehensive plan being put in, the maps came out and left out a parcel in the middle of a neighborhood and spot zoned in the wrong way for one parcel. And the commission has since taken action to introduce that outside of the regular cycle to right that wrong. We got a presentation on the Heritage Pathways Project by the John G. Riley Center Museum. Ms. Marion McGee, the executive director, and Tatiana Daguilar, the special projects coordinator, made a presentation on the Heritage Pathways Project. They explained that a presentation at a public meeting was one of the requirements of a grant agreement with the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity. The grant for $25,000 was accepted by the City Commission, and a separate agreement was authorized to have the John G. Riley Center Museum conduct the work for the Heritage Pathway Project. We're looking forward to that project being completed. We talked about land development code revisions for school siting and development standards. While this does not seem like a big issue today, I can tell you, having been taken part in school siting several times, it is quite contentious when it happens. Childs High School was located where it is located today on a 3-2 vote after many contentious meetings. I sat through contentious meetings on allowing an additional entrance and exit for schools on Meridian Road and Roberts Elementary as well. So we came up with, staff brought us a presentation, a draft ordinance that addresses the revisions to the Tallahassee Land Development Code that will put down in rules in black and white what we'll be looking for a school siting. That ordinance will go to the Planning Commission and then the City Commission for public hearings and adoption. And then finally, we reviewed and approved our future agendas items list, and we added a Midtown sense of place and South Adams Street sense of place to the list.
Great. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Any questions for either of the target issues? Seeing none, we'll now move on to the introduction of ordinances. Ms. Linda Hudson.
Yes, thank you. We have 5 ordinances for introduction tonight, beginning with item 13.01, which is ordinance number 15-0-10AA, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee amending Chapter 22 of the Tallahassee Code of General Ordinances, amending the permitting and regulation of taxi cabs and transportation services to include transportation network application companies and operators, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for commission review, and providing an effective date. And staff recommends that the first and only public hearing be set for June 24th, 2015.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Ziffer.
I have a question, and I'm not quite sure procedurally how to do this. I got all sorts of issues with this, and City Attorney Lou Shelley has impeccable timing because, quite frankly, he's not going to be around before our next meeting to really have a further discussion. So I'm going to ask if this maybe could be delayed until our public hearing following that, which is only 2 weeks later because of the way we've got these meetings jammed up here. Because I'm not sure about the rest of the commission, but there's a whole lot I want to discuss with this and perhaps make some changes, and we really haven't had a chance to do that because this, and based upon both sides being here, clearly is riddled with an awful lot of changes that I think both sides would like to see, but I'd like to work on this a little bit with City Attorney, and maybe some of the other commissioners would like to also. So I'm just asking to extend it a couple of weeks.
If this were not to be introduced tonight, when would be the next scheduled opportunity for an introduction?
Well, it can be introduced tonight.
And changes still can take place.
And change the public. Yes, changes can be made to the ordinance after introduction and before the public hearing.
So, Commissioner, there's a way to introduce this, and if you have changes significant or otherwise, I assume, it can be made in the process when it comes up for decision-making, policy formation?
Right, as long as the changes are related to something that's already in the ordinance.
So if, for instance, background checks are not required, is that considered in the ordinance?
Well, the background checks are addressed in the ordinance, so any changes to that provision can be made.
Either way?
Correct.
For or against. Got it.
City Attorney's not going to be back until Tuesday? Is that correct?
Right, correct.
And the meeting is, our next meeting is Wednesday?
Yes.
So I understand that. I understand the point then. The next opportunity, so Commissioner, would introducing this and then delaying decision-making, not to the next meeting, but to the meeting following, be
It would
inacceptable?
basically be a 2-week delay because of the way we have, we basically have 4 weeks in a row here we're meeting. And so the next public hearing is essentially 3 weeks from today?
July 8th would be the next public hearing opportunity.
So that's, I think, 3 weeks from today.
And then the next opportunity for us to dispose of this from a policy standpoint would be?
July 8th. August.
Also July 8th.
Right.
So introduction?
No, we're introducing it tonight.
If it's I understand that point. All right. Commissioner, I understood you to say not to introduce, but you're saying introduce, but the point at which we can take this up for a vote, we would kick that back by a week.
That's right. And that would give, I don't know if anybody else has any issues, but that would give us all a couple of weeks to get me with the city attorney.
I don't think that is, I don't think that's a problem. Commissioner Miller?
So as my understanding, what we're talking about doing here is instead of holding the public hearing on June 24th, we would hold it on July 8th.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
The one question I have, and this came up after our last meeting as well, and I think we probably should just be clear one way or another whether we are enforcing what is on the books or we're basically saying it's laissez-faire until this commission decides on a policy way forward. Because where we left this in the last discussion, policy discussion, it was enforce the laws that are on the book. And we have heard tonight in very clear admission that Uber is existing in our community, and it is with a defiance for the law that is on the books, and without regard to the law that is on the books. And so what I have said for folks from the cab industry who have met with me, and this has been a response, quite frankly, because of a capacity issue with our law enforcement officers, because the request was, can you set up stings? How do you do it? And I said, well, quite frankly, the priorities for law enforcement are much higher for me at this point than trapping a driver who is acting outside of the law. Now, that's not to excuse it, but it is to say that there are priorities, and unfortunately our officers are spending a lot of time on other priorities. And so I'm wondering if there is any additional guidance, manager, that we need to provide with regard to how law enforcement will address this issue between now and the time that it comes back, or if we just sort of leave it unstated. And I'm happy to hear if my colleagues have other thoughts on the matter. Commissioner Miller?
Well, I think that in talking with our police chief, you're absolutely right in the direction you're going. He just doesn't have the manpower. But what I do want to have made clear to me, I know that enforcement is important that's been brought up repeatedly tonight. Yeah. And so once we come to a place where we have a policy decision and everybody's out there, we're going to have to be sure we are going to have some level of enforcement. Absolutely. So with the additional officers, hopefully we could clarify that by the time we meet again, or sometime in the interim.
I think clearly, based upon the fact that we even have this and we have it here for discussion, there are going to be changes in some form or fashion. There's going to be a different ordinance that will apply to for hire in this fashion. So for me, enforcing at this point, because of what you had suggested, Mr. Mayor and Commissioner Miller, and also simply because there's going to be a change, it doesn't seem like it's worth the effort at this point. And I know that some people might disagree, but it doesn't seem that way to me. But I would like to get an ordinance done. I think within 3 weeks before we go on break, we will have something new in place.
I agree with that. Commissioner Richardson, followed by Commissioner Maddox.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with delaying it, because I do have an issue as well with the current ordinance, and that is how it relates to, and I've had this conversation with J.R. Harding, making sure that everybody is providing transportation for persons with disabilities, and I'm not sure that that's addressed for the ride share companies in the current ordinance. I guess the problem that I have is that in the last policy discussion, we were clear that we wanted enforcement. And I think that is, only fair to the folk that are out there. If a cab company had a problem, and, that would be enforced. And we're clearly, I think, putting one company at an advantage over another when we say that, well, because we don't have this ordinance in place, we're just going to kind of turn a blind eye to what somebody else might be doing. I think we should still be clear that we want the ordinance that is on the book to be enforced until such time as we have another ordinance that, and a new policy that this commission adopts. I mean, that's just like saying, if any other crime was committed, if it didn't rise to the level that the police department could address, then we would kind of turn a blind eye to it. I think if there are, and we know that crimes do happen that don't get reported, but if it's reported or if an officer sees an instance of where it's occurring, then I think that our ordinance that's on the book should be enforced. And so I think that should still be clear to this community, that we're not suggesting that because we don't have this new ordinance that addresses Uber that they can just do what it is they want to do and there not be any enforcement efforts at all.
I understand. Commissioner Maddox?
I think the biggest problem is, are we going to enforce the new ordinance? So once we've gone through this process and we have all the give and take, and everyone won't be happy, which means you'll have a good ordinance, right? So there'll be disappointments on both sides, but we'll end up with a document that everybody can live with. If the answer then is, but it's not going to be enforced, then it's all a bunch of baloney. So, we've got a budget season right now. We're looking at adding a significant amount of police officers and public safety. I want to hear, when we get back on final passage of this ordinance, what the enforcement plan for the ordinance will be. I'd like to hear it that night at the commission meeting when the ordinance passes, and we hear from the police chief and he says, we will take the following steps to enforce the ordinance. Otherwise, we've wasted all our times.
Agreed.
I think we're all agreed around the need to enforce this and also to get an ordinance on the books. It's absolutely unfair for the public for us to operate in this purgatory of not knowing which way we're going to go. And I think it's probably clear that if our officers observe folks breaking the law, that they will not ignore breaking the law. I think the point is whether or not you would deliberately set up stings and the like to catch folks in that behavior. But Madam Manager, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to have this item brought back to us, Ms.
We can bring it back
Hudson.
next week.
Well, we'll have it brought back once the commissioners have had time, I think, to interact a little bit with the city attorney, and then we'll schedule it for the
We have a
first
meeting
in
on the
July.
24th, and then we have one on the 9th.
So I think we're
July.
talking about the 9th.
Okay.
The 9th for final action.
All right. Now I need to understand your direction to me in the meantime.
I think the direction is that we will enforce the laws as we see the laws being observed, either broken or observed.
Okay.
The 8th.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, just a point of clarification. The item would be continued to the meeting on July 8th.
We are introducing the item.
Correct.
And we will continue that item
The
for
public hearing.
policy formation.
For public hearing
For
and
public hearing
action.
and adoption.
For public hearing and adoption to the 9th.
8th. It's
The
July
8th, I'm sorry, the 8th, not the 9th. We've been throwing out the wrong date, the 9th. In fact, actually, is there the 8th? Is there a reason why we wouldn't have public input at the next meeting?
It's set for public hearing.
And
So-
adoption. It has to.
Right.
So it has to happen in the same evening?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
Well, I mean, people can come and comment just like folks did tonight
Right.
at the beginning of the meeting,
Right.
well, or at any point after the meeting, too.
Well,
So-
when an item is set for public hearing, they do not comment on it during public participation. They wait till the public hearing.
Right, I agree.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So this item, Commissioners, it appears we're going to have it introduced tonight and set for public hearing on the 8th of July.
Correct.
Got it.
Thank you. The second item for introduction is ordinance number 15-0-12, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee amending Chapter 2, Administration of the Code of General Ordinances, providing for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, amending Chapter 13, Parks and Recreation of the Code of General Ordinances, adding and amending definitions, amending hours of operation, providing for trespass warnings, amending prohibited activities, making Scrivener's changes, amending park permit application requirements, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date. And staff recommends that the public hearing, the first and only public hearing, be set for June 24th. The third ordinance for introduction in item 13.03 is ordinance 15-0-17, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee amending Chapter 10 of the Tallahassee Land Development Code, providing development and locational standards for private and charter schools, adding definitions, amending Section 10-177 buffer zones, amending the rural zoning district, urban fringe zoning district, and residential preservation zoning district standards, amending zoning districts within the multimodal transportation district to include all levels of elementary and secondary schools, amending Section 10-413, community services and facilities and institutional uses, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date. And staff recommends that the 2 public hearings on this ordinance be scheduled for July 8th and August 26th. The next ordinance for introduction is Ordinance 15-0-23, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee amending Chapter 10, Zoning of the Tallahassee Land Development Code, amending Section 10-247, R4 Urban Residential District, related to street vehicular access restrictions, amending Section 10-280.7, incentives, to allow for a density bonus within the entire multimodal transportation district and to provide additional eligibility criteria for a density bonus, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date. This ordinance also requires 2 public hearings, and staff recommends that these be scheduled for July 8th and August 26th. The last ordinance for introduction is ordinance number 15Z18, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee amending the Ox Bottom Meadows Planned Unit Development Concept Plan on the official zoning map of the City of Tallahassee, adopted and established by the City Commission, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date. And the first and only public hearing on this ordinance is recommended to be scheduled for June 24th.
Great. Please show each of those items introduced without objection. We are now on to the policy formation and direction. Item 14.01, Madam City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, our Assistant City Attorney, Linda Hudson, is going to handle this item. It's approval of amended request by owner of billboards for a variable message board under the city's incentive program.
I'd like to move approval.
Is a motion for approval?
Second.
And a second. All those in, sorry, is there any discussion on the item?
Just very quickly, because I've had to do this in the past, my company from time to time does business with Insight Media, but I've been informed by the city attorney, Lou Shelley, in the past that I still have to vote on this, but I just wanted to go ahead and make that clear.
I have the same issue, Mr. Mayor. We've done business with Insight Media prior to me being elected as a city commissioner this time.
Great. And the city attorney has deemed it okay for both of you all to vote on this item.
Right.
Great. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
02 was withdrawn. 14.02 has been withdrawn from this evening's agenda, so we're on to 14.03. Madam City Manager.
This item, Commissioners, is solar PV RFP. We're asking the Commission to approve rankings and authorize negotiations for an RFP number 0067 15-CSB-BC. And Commissioners, in February of this past year, you authorized staff to issue an RFP to acquire a 10-megawatt solar PV facility through a power purchase agreement. We were actually very pleased and surprised with the response to the RFP. You've heard a little bit about that earlier this evening. We received 16 proposals from 11 vendors. Staff has completed the evaluation of the proposals, and this agenda item is seeking your approval of the ranking and the authorization to negotiate and execute the power purchase agreement. I'd like for Reese Go to just give you a little bit of background about the RFP, what the actual request is, and talk about some of the responses.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, it's certainly my pleasure to present this item to you tonight. I'm joined by Rob McGarrett, General Manager of our electric utility, and this is something that we've all talked about for a long time in terms of renewable energy. It's something that I think we've all wished would get here, this day would get here, and I think we're very pleased, as the manager indicated, to be where we are. As the manager indicated, the Commission gave direction back in February to move forward with an RFP for a large solar farm. And so since then, we've been working on that. The RFP results are back. They're very positive, probably better than expected. I'm not sure we always get those answers. And since then, we've enjoyed the collaboration with Mr. Parsons and Mr. Urs. We've kept them abreast recently of the results we've had. We've asked for their input. They've been very cooperative. They're members of Sustainable Tallahassee. They represent a very credible organization in our community that look at these kind of issues, among other things. So we're very pleased that they're here tonight and appreciate their support in this matter. As a matter of background, I'll be very quick on this, but I just wanted to paint some context to this issue. The city of Tallahassee is one of a handful of generating utilities, or we have one of a handful of generating utilities in the state of Florida. Most utilities in the state of Florida do not generate their own power. They buy it from someone else. And as you know, we have 3 power plants. And in those power plants, we have 2 state-of-the-art generators, 2 that we can be very, very proud of. And one is Pertum 8 that was commercialized in 2000. It was one of the very first combined cycle units, very efficient conversion of natural gas to electricity. With your leadership, with the Commission's leadership, we were ahead of our time. And then shortly thereafter, in 2008, we repowered an older unit, Hopkins Unit 2, which was subsequently recognized as one of the top 6 natural gas power plants in the world. So that speaks to how forward-thinking the Commission has been and the organization has been in terms of efficiency and effectiveness. Again, these plants are natural gas plants, and they make up one of the cleanest fleets of generating electricity fleets in the nation. As we move forward, solar will become part of our mix, and I think we're very happy with that. But I wanted to paint that picture for you in terms of what we look like today and how we've been looking forward, moving to the future. Solar energy, over the past several years, with the Commission's direction, we've encouraged the construction, the build-out of solar systems distributed throughout our community. We think of them as rooftop PV arrays. So we drive around town and we see some of those. We have about 250. So we have quite a few. They make up about 1.7 megawatts, or to express it in a different unit of measure, 1,700 kilowatts of capacity. The solar farm that we're talking about tonight is 10 megawatts, or 10,000 kilowatts of electricity. So in terms of scale, we can go leaps and bounds with a utility scale solar facility. So again, earlier this year we moved to an RFP. We had a committee, a cross-section of committee that was chaired by Ben Cowart. Ben's here tonight. They evaluated numerous proposals. We scored those proposals on both non-price as well as price. All of the participants seemed to be credible. As the city manager mentioned, there were numerous respondents. In fact, there were 11 respondents with 16 different proposals. So we were not short on proposals. First Solar, they're a national company. They're doing this kind of work around the country. It's a very quickly emerging business. They were ranked as the highest proposer. The project overview that they have detailed would be a 10 megawatt facility. It would produce about 20 million kilowatt hours of energy each year, enough to power about 1,700 homes. So it's material. It is definitely much further ahead than we are today. It will take about 70 acres of land. So we're not talking about a small footprint. We're talking about a large footprint because that's how solar works. It takes up the land to soak in the sun and produce electricity. And we're fortunate to have a very suitable site adjacent to our Hopkins facility that's unused, undeveloped today. I'll show you a picture of that. You can see in the image on your screen, kind of the top left of the screen, that is our Hopkins facility. On the very bottom of your screen, you can see that's Highway 20. It runs west to the left of the image and intersects with Getty Road. You can see kind of the blue squares on the map. That's about, this is not a perfect image, but we wanted to make sure we could demonstrate about what it would look like. That's about the amount of space the plant will take. It won't be one perfectly rectangular site, but it will in fact encompass 70 acres. There will be very little parts of the land that will not be covered by solar panels. It will be very impressive. We will have to clear the trees. First Solar will take that obligation as part of the development. It will go through the permitting process. We will collaborate with them and partner with them as we work with the county. That property is in the county, and address the issues with the trees. And as Mr. Irsch said, we're very confident we can come to some good solutions as it pertains to those trees. The price that the proposals that we received is very competitive, something less than 6 cents a kilowatt hour on average, much better than we have seen in the past. And so that's what probably excites us the most, is that we will be able to get solar power that we've wanted for a while at a very competitive price. Moving forward, we're asking you tonight to approve the ranking and authorize that staff can negotiate with the vendors and ultimately authorize the city manager to execute an agreement. We'll negotiate first with First Solar as the highest ranked vendor with your approval. We will also begin customer engagement. We have some ideas of how we can engage our customers, how we can extend the benefit of solar to those wishing to have that benefit the most. Many of our homes in our community aren't suited for rooftop solar, so even if you wanted to do that, you couldn't. And we think there's some opportunities to partner with our customers and kind of meet that desire that they have to participate in solar energy. Also, as we move forward, First Solar will probably begin the permitting process somewhere in late August 2015. We anticipate a quick turnaround on the contract, and then construction would commence somewhere in the spring or summer of 2016. There's some inventory delivery in there. Construction would go pretty quickly, and we would anticipate that to be completed by the end of 2016. So as we stand here today, in less than a year and a half, we anticipate we could have a full-blown solar farm that puts us right at the top of the most progressive communities and is consistent with the direction you've provided us in the past.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Gold. Commissioner Maddox, followed by Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to say to staff, well done. We're in the Sunshine State, and I'm glad that we're taking a very progressive, large step towards solar. I look forward to more renewable energy issues coming forward. So I move the item.
There's a motion and a second. Commissioner.
Just before we vote on it, a couple of questions. Are we still looking at some of the panels being available for cooperative purchase? I know we had some discussion about that at one point, that if a number of households who might not be able to afford a panel wanted to form a cooperative and purchase, is that still part of the plan?
Commissioner, I think that's part of the community engagement. In this case, this is probably not suitable for that. But we believe there's opportunities to really be close to that, probably in the favor of the customer, and I'll briefly tell you why. In this case, to get the best economical solution, First Solar will own and operate these facilities. It'll be on the city's land. They'll be able to take maximum benefit of the federal taxing policies as it relates to this. And it also mitigates the city's risk and our customers' risk if the facility were to fail for whatever reason and became non-operational. So in this case, they would own it. It would be impossible to resell it to our customers. We certainly are open-minded to that concept, but we really think that we can come up with some good solutions in terms of customer participation. We're anxious to get engaged with our customers and hear their feedback as it relates to that. Even with this facility, we think we have great opportunities to meet that request.
Okay. And just one other question: if from the photograph, is this located behind the little strip mall right there at Getty and Highway 20?
Right at that intersection, it's going to be, if you're facing that particular development, yes, sir, it would be right behind that.
How will it impact? Because I think there's 2 or 3 businesses.
There will be no impact.
No impact.
And obviously, this is a pretty passive site. Once you construct it, the panels will be there. There'll be minimal maintenance, some, but it won't be an active site where there's a lot of movement that would impact that business or take away from that business in any way.
Okay. I mean, with taking out all the trees, there won't be any impact from stormwater or anything like that on the...
Yes, sir. We would obviously have to address any kind of stormwater runoff issues and how we retain that stormwater, and we'll certainly work through that. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Gold, do you know if there are any local PV manufacturers that will be potentially considered for the supply of material?
Not that I know of. The highest rank proposer has its own proprietary panel. Most of the other proposals, nearly all, was of a particular proprietary panel. I'm not aware that any of them offered a locally made panel. My guess is local labor will be utilized, but that's simply a guess. We'll have to get into negotiation with the vendor in that regard.
And then what about the installation of the panels, of the equipment? Is that local labor? What's the...
Well, I'm going to have to find out in terms of our negotiation. That's where I think your greatest opportunity exists in terms of the labor that could actually install the panels. But we've not gotten that deep into the conversation yet.
I would just, state, because the uniqueness of this project, one, I think it is a tremendous step in the right direction with regard to the energy, the future energy mix. Commissioner Maddox is right. We're the Sunshine State and the capital of it. We ought to have a signature project like this that demonstrates our commitment to diversified and renewable energy sources. But I do also see this as an opportunity, and I've seen in other communities, particularly in California, Oakland, and other progressive places where they've used this as an opportunity to put local people to work, not only in the manufacturing, production of panels, but also in the installation of them. And so, to the extent that we can raise that as a premium consideration in the discussions or negotiation, I'd love to see what can be done there.
Thank you.
There is a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, we're now on item 14.04, Capital City Amphitheater interlocal agreement. Madam City Manager.
Commissioners, since Cascades Park opened in March of 2014, 7 concerts have been held at the amphitheater as part of the Leon County's Capital Cascade Stage and Concert Series. The County Commission recently received a progress report on the 7 concerts from the Stage Committee, and they're requesting several amendments to the interlocal agreement between the city and the county that actually provides parameters for the concerts. These changes include a request to revise the number of concerts permitted from 10 during an 18-month period and to 10 during a 12-month period. And actually, as Ashley and or Wayne will explain, it was our intent, I think, to have 10 concerts a year. That's what we talked about all the time. But we actually had an 18-month period that we were looking at from the beginning of the first term. We also are looking at a request to expand the members of the Stage Committee, and city staff is recommending requiring the full use of the stage curtain during all performances and sound checks, and requiring event start times to be no earlier than 8 a.m. This is our recommendation to you, and let me ask Ashley and Wayne, one of whom I think, or their staff, have attended every concert and almost every event that has sound associated with it at Cascades Park, just to make sure that we were not moving away from our promise to the citizens who live in that area.
Ashley, as you come, I just want to acknowledge you and the tremendous work your staff did in assembling and designing the entire setup for the All-America City competition.
Yes.
That point was not lost on us. We couldn't have done it without y'all.
Thank you, Mayor. We're very proud to be a part of that.
Of course. Thank you. Commissioner Ziffer.
So, Ashley, I want to thank you because I hear nothing but great things from everybody involved with this, the hard work that you're doing with this committee. And the compliments that I've received for you watching out for the best interests of, in particular, the neighborhoods nearby, which raises a concern I have regarding the dilution of the Stage Committee. And it's not necessarily an issue I have with FSU, FAMU, or TCC, but the fact of the matter is there was a lot of effort and thought put into the original composition of this committee, and essentially we're adding 3 more members, which on some level lowers the importance of the representation of the neighborhood. So for me, I can't support that, or if there's a real impressive argument to have the FSU, FAMU, and TCC on there, then I would suggest that we add more members from the neighborhood. I don't want them to lose their ability to be heard, and also to in some way not control, but at least have a significant vote towards whatever the committee decides to do. So I have a problem with that. And also the resolution of KCCI, it seems like there was some confusion. Originally the KCCI was going to go away, but clearly they're not going away. So what was determined as far as KCCI's continued participation?
In the original interlocal agreement, KCCI was going to be a member of the Stage Committee only for the first 2 years, and then after that, that seat would be occupied by a member at large that would be appointed alternately for 2-year terms, alternately by the City Commission and then the County Commission. The county has requested, in addition to their request to add the 3 members to the Stage Committee, they have requested that KCCI, their seat, become permanent.
Okay, I agree with that, but Mr. Mayor, and I'm not sure what the rest of the commission feels, but I am concerned about the dilution of the neighborhood having fair representation on there, because by adding those three members, and I'm not arguing they shouldn't have some input from those three universities, but at least if we're going to do that, we ought to add more representatives from the neighborhood, in my opinion.
Got it. Commissioner Richardson, followed by Commissioner Maddox.
Yeah, thank you.
And then Commissioner Miller.
We got a handout from Scott Carswell just before the meeting tonight. I don't know if have you all had a chance to
I have not seen that.
take a look at that? Well, essentially what he says is that this issue was not, the curtain issue was not vetted by the stage committee. And then he also asserts that that as the promoter, they need the flexibility and that they have, in most instances, used the curtain to the maximum extent possible, but they need the flexibility. And in one instance that he cites, if they had to use the full curtain, they wouldn't have been able to do the concert. Are those issues, Ashley, that you think should be or are valid issues, I guess, is my question?
Well, in terms of the stage committee's involvement, we've certainly discussed this issue with the stage committee. They did not include it in their report as part of their recommendations. The first two items in this agenda item are at the request of the county based on the stage committee's report. We added two additional items that we felt from city staff's perspective as the operators of the amphitheater that we felt should be included. And as we were going to be attempting to renegotiate the interlocal agreement, we thought that it would be more appropriate to try to do it all at once. In terms of the concerns about the curtain itself, what I can tell you is that Wayne and I have been at every concert just about, one or the other of us, and it's clear to us that the curtain does make a positive impact on mitigation of the sound to the neighborhood. And I think the best analogy I can use is that if this amphitheater had been built with a back wall that had a permanent structure with some type of sound baffling, that permanent structure would be there, and the bands would have to work around that. Kind of like if you have a back wall of the auditorium inside a building, you can't move the wall every time a band comes on. It's kind of one of the given parameters of that arena. We didn't have a back wall built, and since we have installed the curtain and it makes a positive impact, we feel that kind of considering that in the same venue of this is a permanent fixture that needs to be in place at all these concerts, and it needs to be dealt with as a permanent fixture that the bands can simply work around. I do know there were some concerns at some of the concerts. One of the bands needed to throw guitars back and forth, and the curtain was an issue there. I will obviously defer to Scott's expertise as a producer in the music industry, but I think if a wall had been there, they would have simply stepped forward and thrown the guitar around the wall. So from my view, I think that the curtain is significant enough for the neighbors that it's worth keeping.
Okay. Now, he also talks about the issue of wind, technical specs, and sight lines as being issues that could cause problems if there was a permanent curtain there.
Haven't seen his concerns specifically. I do know that there have been comments made when he's talked about the sight lines on some of the concerts that are fuller, more seats are sold on the far wings, if you will.
Right.
I don't know that I have personally the knowledge to comment about the legitimacy of those concerns or not, but I think that that's a concern he's raised.
Okay.
Commissioner Maddox, followed by Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In this, I think if there were a permanent wall, they would have to work around the permanent wall, but then certain performers just wouldn't come. So that, I think the point that he was making was, according to his numbers, they've used the curtains for 87% of all the shows, but they would not have been able to have the Avett Brothers because they needed a line of sight between two instruments without the curtain. I, however, feel wholly unqualified to make a decision as to what's better, curtain versus no curtain for performing artists. And I did hear from Mr. Daniel, who testified earlier that said on behalf of the TDC and the county, they'd asked us to defer the item I'd much rather defer the item and see if we can get everyone on the same stage, if you will, and then bring it back so we're not having to make a decision, then perhaps amend our decision.
And I would move that we do delay the item, Mr. Mayor, if that's appropriate to.
There's a motion and a second. Commissioner Miller?
I would like to, on the point of deferring the item, I'm really uncomfortable changing the interlocal on a topic that the stage committee hasn't recommended that we do. And in Mr. Carswell's memo, it basically said the proposed requirement was not discussed at any stage meetings. And you're saying that you have discussed it with them. Irregardless, it didn't show up in their report. And that is very impactful for me. So I'd like to hear more from staff. I'd like to have time to hear more from staff as to why that occurred and hear from all sides, you know, Mr. Carswell, the people lining up the work, and so on. In regards to the addition of folks to the committee, I would like to hear from y'all about why you have chosen to add the FSU and FAMU and is that what it is? FSU, FAMU, yeah. And TCC. One of the things that has been important to me is that we focus this park on the city and the residents that live here. I love the students. I think they're awesome. But this park is not primarily their park, if that's the gist of it. That's just how I feel about it. And I feel like that it's gone really well. If we are going to add those folks, I would like to also propose that we add somebody from the Downtown Improvement Authority, mainly because they're putting on a number of concerts at the stage. At this point, I mean, the first Friday, I can't say exactly what it is, once a month, every month, they're having a jazz concert. And it is in the downtown improvement area. I mean, it only makes sense to me that they should have a representative on the stage. If we are going to add these people, I agree with Commissioner Ziffer that we need at least one more representative from the neighborhood. So if you can look forward in formulating a group that is balanced, remains balanced even after you add folks, then I think we'd be more interested in looking at that kind of thing. And in regards to this curtain, though, I mean, it's technical, and I see that they're using it if at all possible, they're using the curtain. So, and the Avett Brothers, I have to tell you, is, in my opinion, the best concert we had down there. So if it keeps out the best concert that we have, I can't see requiring it, as long as it's very clear to everybody that this thing is part of that, except that, and only in the exceptional state are we not using it. So does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Good. Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate does this go through any target issue committees? I mean, I think we could have cleaned some of this
it didn't.
up.
It could.
Yeah.
When is it that Mr. Daniel suggested bringing it back?
We have a blueprint meeting on Monday where we'll all be there.
Okay.
Yeah, at that meeting, they're going to be discussing additional sound mitigation options, and I think that's part of that. He would like to have that as part of that conversation.
Okay. Good.
Great. Commissioners, just so that we have some clarity, is the idea that by Monday you all will feel prepared to maybe discuss this further with the county before bringing it back to the city? This has to be adopted in our individual capacities? All right. So maybe what we could do, Wayne or whomever might be able to influence that agenda, is to have a discussion that includes the city and the county together, and then we can agenda it for action by the respective bodies. Does that make sense? Or
you could do it on the 24th.
Absolutely. We'll include all the issues that was just raised tonight. And just for the neighborhood's information, we do not have that agenda ready because I was kind of waiting through this to get through. By tomorrow evening, I hope to have that out for everyone.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Commissioners, there's a motion and a second to delay. Actually, without objection, we'll delay it until after have the opportunity to discuss. All right, Commissioners, we've finished the policy formation section of our agenda. We're now on unagended speakers. Matt, if you could, Mr. Lutz, if you could describe the process and introduce the first speaker.
Very well, Mayor. We have 9 speakers at this time. The first speaker will be Claudia Shaker.
And each speaker has,
if you will, please step forward and step to the podium to the audience's left. You'll have 3 minutes to make your comments. There is a light that's on the front of the podium. It will turn green when your time begins, turn yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining, and turn red when your time has expired. And if you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Regina. I live in Tallahassee on West Pensacola Street. And the reason why I'm here is because I want the City Commission, including Andrew Gillum and Anita Favors, to reject a proposal to increase property taxes by 27% and in general the entire Operation Safe Neighborhoods. This is something that is absolutely wrong. We do not need more police officers in Tallahassee. You know, the fact that there has been all these police killings and not one person has been convicted shows that TPD has no concern for Black, brown, and poor life in Tallahassee. And I absolutely urge that the City Commission votes against this. I say that because of the fact in fall, when the budget comes, we will be here as much as we have to be. And, you know, young people are tired of, you know, our supposed elected officials not caring about what we have to say. You know, the fact that there has to be a 27% property tax increase. What about education here? Viola Young was tased by a TPD police officer in a street where there were no sidewalks. But yet we don't have money. We don't have money for sidewalks. But yet we have money for, you know, more police weapons and more police officers. It's absolutely, you know, ridiculous. And this entire idea of, you know, maybe it's black on black crime is also completely racist. Because the difference between when a black person kills another black person is that person goes to jail. When a police officer kills a black person, he gets back on the force. And that is not okay. So what I'm saying is, this is a warning. We will be back. There'll be more people, and you will not be reelected if you choose to go forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
The next speaker will be Mr. Thomas Tebow, to be followed by Stanley Sims.
This is
You mean to tell me Harry is left? Closer. Closer. Yeah, that's good, I guess. Yeah, Commissioners, these are some of the proposals that I was requesting for last time to get some aid with, connect with some people that can help me to critique these legislative standards, and give me be able to. I can be able to talk with somebody concerning some funding, be able to live by, while I work on these. Because right now, I don't panhandle, I don't bum, okay. And I sit out with my works. People are afraid to even come over and look at them. The people that go up and bum and beg people for money, they get right in their face and they give them money to get them to leave, go away. You know, I sit out for 3 days and I make enough to get one Jimmy John's sandwich. You know, and it's little, 3 days. And actually 3 days, I only made $2, you know, sitting out with my works. But so I need to see if I can get some funding to be able to survive by while I critique these, and also make some connections with some people that can help me to research and get some factors to put in these for get them to legislative standards. That whoever I can talk with concerning that after the meeting, possibly y'all's meeting. And then the other was concerning the front of your city hall here, where you're having that reconstruction done. If you have a waterway on both sides, a stream, a waterfall going into a stream with plants on the outside, a bench on the inside, right next on the edge of the sidewalk, so people can sit and listen to the stream run down the side of the sidewalk, and on the other side of the stream, a really plush grass where people can throw a blanket and a little sign saying, "Please keep this. Please keep your picnics to enjoyable to the vision, to our clients' visions or to the public vision."
and people will be able to walk in City Hall and see people enjoying a nice picnic out there with their kids, and nice herbs growing along the side of the stream. But the main thing is the stream would have interchangeable water, energy propulsion for the electrical production on the waterfalls, and you would be able to record the waterfalls and the rapids, the water running across them, and put them through an oscilloscope, and it will prove what I was saying. Electricity manipulates the energy of the environment to be in the same direction the set energy is that's producing that electricity, no matter how far away it is. That would show that electricity is undermining the direction that mankind is trying to get going and trying to force people, the citizens, to promote a self-destructive direction. I've got personal experience of this. I know this would work in the same way that I'm talking about. If somebody wants to research on this, you can find in Coconut Grove. When I went to buy a recording specifically to put this experiment down, right when I hit pause, all the electricity went out in Coconut Grove.
Excuse me, your time has expired.
Thank you very much.
Please talk with me concerning this. I'd like to talk to this.
Mr. Mayor, I was intrigued by the potluck massage parties he's got there. Maybe perhaps you could talk to Miss Michelle Bono. It's right there afterwards.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Mr. Sims, if you would, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Stanley Sims. I'm at 1320 Avondale Way. First of all, Commissioner, I want to say congratulations on the All-American dedication. I'm here tonight because now I see it's very evident that we be here tonight. We're here to talk about Operation Safe Neighborhoods. As you know, Mayor, we have been very proactive, and I just really, and I wish the manager was here, because the feedback from when we walked that community, Commissioner Richardson, it literally told those people, Mayor, that you all care. And a friend of mine, she said, Rev, how did you get them to come down here with you? I said, no, baby, I'm with them. They ain't with me. And so that it made the difference. And you were able to really look and have firsthand experience, and we think that that is very valuable. And I'm excited about Saturday. People in this community is excited about Saturday. Pastor Greg James really wanted to apologize that he could not be here tonight, but he was preaching the word, and he asked me to come to let you all know that he is really not waiting, but he is moving forward. Madam Manager, this weekend he is doing a plethora of events at Life Ministries for fathers, and he's doing something totally unorthodox. He is recognizing ex-felons who have come back in this community and contributing. And I've spoken with the chief. These additional officers is not what you say it is. No. The chief, I've sit down and I've talked with him. He understands that we cannot arrest our way out of the problem. I've spoken with Mr. D. Crumpler. I've talked with Mike Parker. We've put in place a draft of a proposal commission that is two-pronged. And these people here, they're on the front line. This man's coming off work. I asked him to stay, but at 11 o'clock at night, after that shooting, Mayor, they go out and they talk to our young people. These are the people who are on these front line that we're going to have to do something unorthodox. It's a different, in Curtis Richardson, I'm sorry, Commissioner, what I stole is what we did in Gaston when we did the health assessment. We're going in these 3 hot zones, and the proposal is we're going to let them tell us what their problem and how to help us. But not only are we just going to do that because we fooled them too many times, we have another strategy that we're going to be talking with you, Mayor, on the 24th about these safe zone houses in these hot spots. And so I'm excited, and there's other people out in this community that is excited because we see this as an opportunity to tell these young people, we hear your cry. And I had said this at the faith-based meeting, the late Senator Jim King. He said something to me when we worked on Senate Bill 9, helping ex-offenders come back and get jobs. He said, Mr. Richardson, he said, desperate people do desperate things. And when we reclaim this city, we're not walking in those 3 hot zones with judgment eyes. We're going to be able, we just want to offer them some help. We want to be a partner at the table, and we are excited. I think Mr. Crumpler told me other people are calling, but I guarantee you no one has got a proposal in your hand to say, hey, and here's what we're doing. This is not about here's what we'll do if you do this. This is about here's what we're doing. And we want to work with you all.
Excuse me, your time's expired.
Well, before you walk away, Mr. Sims, I just want to say, one, it was extremely heartfelt to have you join over 100 folks in this city to walk neighborhoods 2 Saturdays ago. And we've probably gotten a number of emails, even from my church, where the pastor has asked 150 men of the church to be there on Saturday night to walk streets. And I mean, when we turned that corner and the folks on the porch started to applause, and one-on-one conversations, folks saying, I'm glad y'all are here, I'm glad you care. And then they said, where can we join you next Saturday? Right. Which was incredible.
And Mr. Mayor, I apologize, I don't know if I'm breaking a rule, but we changed the schematics of the events because you all were away, and that impressed me that you wanted to be a part of this. But did you know that we had about 30, 40 people showed up at Day Street?
I heard.
Ready to walk. And then when I explained the situation, they were just really encouraged to come back. And so I just don't want other individuals. We're not going to try to address this from a negative point of view. We're very positive about going in to handle this problem because, Commissioner Miller, we understand that the complexity of this problem is very comprehensive, and there is enough room for everyone at the table. Right. Yes. And I'm going to close with this. I have a rule. I don't come up here and complain to you about a problem, and you all know my history in this community, unless I'm involved trying to solve it. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Our next speaker is Rachel Walsh, to be followed by Carolyn Hackney. And if you would, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Rachel Walsh. I live at 1200 Stern Street, apartment D2, 32310. And I've been a Tallahassee resident for my entire life. I was born here. I'm actually here representing an environmental group called Earth First in conjunction with the Black Liberation Action Coordinating Committee, 2 grassroots organizations, mostly young people. And we're here to speak in opposition to Operation Safe Neighborhoods. We believe that the city ought to fund, I'm nervous, ought to fund positive projects that address issues that really come from economic inequality and marginalization of a lot of people in our society. And it's best to address those root causes with funding for education, schools, and other community programs, community gardens, positive things, and not increase funding for the police force, weapons, juvenile detention, juvenile assessment facilities. So we're here to ask you to fund those positive projects instead of negative ones. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Richardson.
Mr. Mayor, it appears to me that these young people may have the wrong conception of what these are all volunteers that came out. This is not.
They're talking about the 24 police officers.
Yeah, well, but they're saying they're against Operation Safe Neighborhoods. That has nothing to do with police officers. This is a volunteer effort that's led by the city to reclaim neighborhoods in our community that have been fraught with violence, gun violence in particular, but crime in general. And we certainly would want to work with you all as young people in particular to be involved in that effort. Now, the police officers that are being recommended to be hired, those are not police officers that are going to go out and crack heads and tase people indiscriminately and put people in jail. They're to go out to work with the community, to partner with the community, to make our communities and neighborhoods safer, to make our city in general safer. I don't know if you all have had privy to the very shocking crime statistics that have been associated with our community. And so what we're doing is putting in place every tool that we can to make this city safe for young people like yourselves, so that other young people who want to come here and go to school, who want to live, who want to visit, feel safe and comfortable coming to Tallahassee. So you all may want to have some additional conversation with our staff on what it is we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish, and maybe be a part of that, so that we're all working on the same page to address these issues in our community. We're not at odds with you all at all, and I hope that you don't feel that way in terms of what we're trying to accomplish. We all love this city. We've just received a designation as an All-America city. And so we certainly would welcome you all to work with us in this regard. If there's more information that you all need, we can certainly provide it for you. But we want to work with you to address the very issues that you have raised here this evening.
Commissioner Ziffer.
I want to thank you for coming.
Yeah.
I do. Each one of you, and I'm hopeful that a few more of you will speak. You can get my name on the TalGov website, and I would be more than happy to come meet you anytime and listen more what you have to suggest, because there are probably some things that you know that I do not. And there are probably some ideas that you have that I have not thought of. And I would be more than happy to sit down and listen to everything you have to say, and you might be surprised that we are actually listening. So my is gone now, but I'd be more than happy, seriously, to sit down and talk and listen to what you have to say. I will tell you, this is not the best way to have dialogue, 3 minutes talking, speaking. The best way is to sit down and just talk and listen, because I am not on the ground as much as you are, so I want to learn what you know. So I'll offer that up.
Great. Commissioner Maddox.
I appreciate very much you coming and exercising your civic duty to be involved in your government. Mm-hmm. I do, however, strongly disagree with the comments that the young lady who's filming me made. When you said that TPD has no concern for black, brown, or poor people, that the Tallahassee Police Department indiscriminately shoots people of color, that's repugnant. That's false. The Tallahassee Police Department is made up of many people that are black and brown. And all of them, whether they be black, brown, red, yellow, white, have one thing in common. The thing they have in common is that they're willing to put their life on the line if you call 911. If you call it, they're willing to put their life on the line. And if you ask me how I know because Ernest Ponce de Leon put his life on the line and died. I know because Dale Green put his life on the line for people of color and died. I know that Chris Smith put his life on the line and died. I know that Colin Wolficle almost died and put his life on the line. So to say that police officers indiscriminately shoot people of color is insulting to their memories. I appreciate you coming. I wish you did more of your homework. And I'm willing to listen and have an open mind if you're willing to listen and have an open mind. But I guess the true test would be if you call 911 and you need help, who would come? I think would be law enforcement.
Thank you, Commissioner. I believe there are a few more speakers.
The next speaker is Carolyn Hackney, to be followed by Elena Fisher.
Well done. Well done.
And if you would, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Caroline Hackney. My address is 3716 Ivy Green Trail, Tallahassee. I don't have a lot to say, but I am insulted that you suggest that we haven't done our homework. We have done our homework. Their names are Viola Young, Jeremy Lett, and Dwayne Strong. I don't know. I don't really have that much more to say, but...
Thank you.
Next speaker is Elena Fisher, to be followed by Delatry Hollinger.
Hello, it's Elena Fisher. I live at 1893 Nina Hills Drive. The The people of Tallahassee do not need more police and more weapons. Those resources would be better invested in education and activities for the youth to participate in rather than oppressing and harassing them. I don't think that people should have to pay for weapons that will use to intimidate them, and hyper-militarization of the police force will only increase animosity and tension that has been growing between police and communities heavily and disproportionately policed by them. Also, I don't feel comfortable calling the police when I'm in trouble because a lot of black and brown people, I don't know if you've been watching the news lately, have been killed after calling the police when they have a problem. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Next speaker is Delatry Hollinger. He just stepped out, so we'll call him when he returns. Next speaker will be Sheila Moore Humes.
That's myself. He's going to speak first, and I'll call it.
Are there any other speakers aside from these two? Or will
the next speaker will be Celestria de la Cruz.
I hope I wasn't
Hi.
foolish.
My name is Celestria de la Cruz. I live at 1516 Majestic Avenue. What I have to say is kind of synonymous with what we were speaking about as providing funds for these communities to kind of make our neighborhoods safer through activities and positive activities of such. I was involved with a group that was trying to reach out to South Side with Lake Alberta by kind of promoting, you know how we do food trucks at Lake Ella and stuff like that. If we were kind of to shift those activities out to the South Side, it would be kind of a positive way for people to get out of their houses and kind of alleviate that animosity with going outside. I feel like when people try to set up activities for those communities, it's kind of looked at as it's really discriminated against because people feel like they don't deserve the money, or that if we put funds in those regions that they're not going to be used wisely. And I mean, at TCC with Peace Jam, we are constantly trying to promote sustainable living and constantly trying to promote community gardens so people can go out in their communities and do activities that are positive. And I feel like it's messed up to ask people to spend more money on things that are just going to make us feel more intimidated. In the neighborhood that I live in, we have a really huge problem with flooding, and I'm constantly writing the city talking about these issues. I can't even, I walk, I don't have a car, and I have a disability, and it's hard for me to get to my doctor's appointments because I'm constantly trying to walk through my neighborhood that is not safe. It's flooded constantly. And it's like I keep writing these memos to try to get some funding for my neighborhood. They've cleared out most of the houses because people can't even live there because my house is constantly flooded by like 6 inches of water, and it's upsetting to me that you want to spend money on guns and more police officers when that's not what we need. What we need is a community that we can appreciate. How can you expect people to live positively if they can't even appreciate their communities? Our roads are a disgrace. I come from down south where we're constantly putting our funds into maintaining our roads, and that's not something that I see here. And I've only lived here for 3 years, but the things that I see in this community, it's like they're often dismissed, especially with the stuff that happens at TCC with sustainable living. And I just think that if we had like an open discussion where we could talk with you guys, and I really appreciate the fact that you want to have an open forum with us, because the young people of Tallahassee really do care about our community, and that's something that I appreciate about here. And I just feel that if we started moving towards what we can do with those funds for positive activities, I feel like we would see a better outlook instead of just kind of looking at numbers and being like, oh, there's crime. You know what I'm saying? So thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, can I didn't get your address. Where do you live so that we can get those flooding issues?
1516 Majestic Avenue. It is off Mission Road.
Okay.
Headed towards Tharp.
Okay.
Right,
Manager, if we could have someone follow up
We will.
on that and see what the issue is there. But again, I think like Commissioner Ziffer has offered, I would offer, I'm sure any of us, with the groups that you all represent, anytime that you're interested in having us come and having an open dialogue, that's what we're about. I live on the south side of town. My wife and I built our house on the south side of town 20 years ago. We're raising our children on the south side of town. So, you know, but all of us have that same concern for all of our city. I mean, we didn't go out to Denver to have our city designated an All-America city because we're not concerned about what happens to every resident in this city, you all included. And so anytime you want any of us to come to a meeting, any of the activities that you all are scheduling, if you'll let us know, we'll be there and we'll be open to that kind of dialogue and address the kinds of issues that you raise. I mean, if there are roads that you've identified that have problems, let the manager and her staff know, and we'll get them checked out and see what repairs need to be made. But we want you all to be as proud of this city as we are, and because we're building your future. And you know, maybe one day one of you all will be sitting up here leading this city that we all love so much. But yeah, call us and just invite us to come so that we can start that dialogue. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Commissioner Miller?
I was just going to mention, I was going to actually ask one of our staff to talk to her and follow up on the flooding.
Majestic Drive.
Mm-hmm. Great. Our next speaker.
Next speaker is Delatry Hollinger, to be followed by Sheila Moore-Humes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Madam Manager.
Good evening.
I have several issues I want to speak about tonight, but I'll try to get through them expeditiously. The first is about Mr. Markeel Dickey, who passed away in a car accident on June 5th on Portland Avenue, the former president of the Distinguished Young Gentlemen of America. That area, it's my understanding, especially after talking to a resident who lives at the corner, Valerie Norville, who lives at the corner of Old Bainbridge and Portland, that there have been many accidents in that area in the past, less than a year actually. Her husband last year broke his neck in an accident. Thankfully he's okay, but that corner is very dangerous as well as that street. My request is that we have our public works people to look at that street and consider putting speed humps on Portland Avenue, as well as caution lights at that intersection of Old Bainbridge and Portland. Also, I'd like to speak about the recent increase in crime in the community. Though I do support the chief's request, I believe that it was mainly because of response times and the concern over response times, not necessarily the crime in the community. So I do support Chief DeLeo's request for more officers, but not necessarily as it relates to the recent gun violence that we've been seeing in the community. I think that Operation Safe Neighborhood, where we get our community involved, where we get our residents, youth involved, walking the neighborhoods, talking to people, what do you want to see happen in your community? I think it's going to take us grabbing the hands of our youth and bringing them together to work on these problems. And also, I'd like to discuss infrastructure in the Frenchtown community. The 61-year-old grandmother who was tased on Dunn, I believe, was tased because she was asked to get out of the street. And there are no sidewalks. Dunn, Dent, Dewey, and Dover, there are no sidewalks. The streets are not in the best condition. We have our Community Redevelopment Agency. We have the Frenchtown Southside CRA. We need sidewalks on those streets. And in addition to that, I'd like to ask for when the report would come back from the recent trip that the Gun Violence Council took to Chicago, when the report would come back from that. And I've spoken with the chief about this before. I'd like to see some youth appointed to that council because, after all, the council was formed after there were these police-involved shootings, they were involving youth, but there are no youth on the council to give input on what's going on in our community. So I'd like to see some youth put on that council. Finally, I'd like to know if there was an update on the old jail in Cascades Park, the old Leon County Jail, Firestone building. But I appreciate the time to speak to you, and thank you. See, my time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I want to, Mayor.
Please.
Delatry, I wanted to say that on the Gun Violence Council, there are several people on the council, and then there are numerous subcommittees that have a lot of people involved that aren't specifically the council members. So I suggest you get in touch with them and jump right in, and because you're certainly capable of doing that, and see if you can't find one of those subcommittees that you really feel passionate about, and so get involved from that point.
And, Madam Manager, I do assume at some point we'll be able to hear back from the delegation that went to Chicago on what their assessment and findings were. So I imagine that'll be forthcoming. Next speaker.
And our final speaker is Sheila Moore Humes.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioners. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I'm here to support the youth. I see that there's a lot of youth here, and I have a lot to say. Mr. Hollinger, I have his back in a lot of stuff that he's doing. But I want to talk mostly today, and I want to show you a picture of one of the young men that was cut down. I'm going to put the picture there so you can pass it down. June 5th, he lost his life, and there was another young man in that intersection that we spoke about. Yes, we need speed bumps, and there's a lot of speed going on. Traffic is terrible in that area. We need to change that situation so we don't have these casualties anymore. He's a 21-year-old young man. He was very effective in this community. He did a lot for this community in the 21 years that he lived. So we would appreciate that you would do something about the speed bumps, the lights, and Cleveland and Old Bainbridge. Very, very dangerous section. I live in that community. I walk. I've seen it. I had to park on the side of the street, and I watch what happened. We cannot have people, anyone getting cut down because we don't have what we need. We need to make the city, as we said, we won the prize. We are the best city. We need to prove it and do the things we need to change what's going on in infrastructure and support these young kids. 21, the leaders will be 21 soon, and we have some younger kids behind me, and they need to be supported and heard. And I'm grateful and thank you that you're here today. And I know you're listening because I watch all of you speak. I watch you as you speak. I watch you as you respond. And I hope that there's some new blood coming up here to show that there could be a change in Tallahassee, a positive change in Tallahassee. And you will see me again and again and again because I'm going to support these kids. I am not a teenager. I'm a military person. But we have new blood, and they need to be listened to and heard. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Commissioners, I believe that was the last speaker of the evening, and we have had quite a day. Budget plus City Commission meeting. Are there any other sharing of ideas before we adjourn? Commissioner Miller, followed by Commissioner Ziffer.
I just want to say that I just want to thank you for the most substantive budget discussion that we've ever had since I've been on the commission. It was really thorough. We did and I'm sorry that all the folks have left because we did talk about public safety, not just about addition of police officers. And even if those police officers are added, the type of approach that they're going to be. Well, this is new leadership. There is new leadership in the police department, and it is much more about relationship building than it ever has been before. In order to do that, they're going to have to be able to have the time to do that, and that was part of what we discussed today. We also discussed several other aspects of public safety and approaches that need to be funded. And the other thing that I wanted to say was that the Operation Safe Neighborhoods includes folks going out and walking the neighborhoods. It's an unbelievable effort. I'm just really admiring of you for coming up, for developing that. But in addition to that, the opening of the parks for longer hours and providing a whole lot more expanded programs for kids during the summer. That's another aspect of that same effort, and I wanted to make sure that people were aware of that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Zifford.
Spay and neuter. Haven't said that in a while. I was reminded of that today, and I was ashamed because I have not. But I put it on Commissioner Maddox because he's made a big effort when it comes to adoption. But you very rarely mention spay and neuter, so spay and neuter for the third time. I look forward to seeing everybody again next week.
That's right. We're back on next week. Commissioner Richardson, anything?
I'm good.
Great. Maddox? All right. Thank you all for a very productive meeting. We're adjourned.
Productive day.
So you need to get.
Should be too. When the problem is poison, the answer is poison control. 1-800-222-1222. Call now for your free phone sticker before you need it. 1-800-222